Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Once again, we'll be discussing replacing your shared drive with Alfresco. Our presenter today is going to be Mike Farman, Alfresco Product Manager. So among other things, Mike is going to be talking about how Alfresco's virtual file system interfaces provide a common internet file system, network file system, and FTP access to your Alfresco content repositories. Basically, he's going to show you how you make Alfresco as easy to use as a shared drive. So I'll turn it over to Mike now. I'd like to request that if you have questions as we go through the presentation, you enter those into the chat or the Q&A window in your WebEx interface. At the end of the presentation, which should last about 40 minutes, we will then entertain and address all of your questions. Thanks so much for joining us. Let me now turn over to Mike. Mike?
Great. Thanks very much, Balaji. Welcome, everybody, to today's session. So, as Balaji mentioned, we're going to be talking about Alfresco and how it can be used as a content repository and as a replacement for your shared drive. Please do use the Q&A panel on the right-hand side to ask your questions as we're going along, and we will do our best to answer all of those questions when we get to the end of the presentation and demo. So, first of all, just a little bit of background on what is the world's most popular CMS. And really the way Alfresco sees it is by far the most popular tool that people use to manage their content is, in fact, the shared drive. It's familiar to a lot of users. You know, it appears to them as a Windows Explorer drive. And how many times have we all heard the expression, you know, it's on the shared drive? It clearly is the most popular tool that people use. But it has a lot of challenges in terms of actually being used as an effective tool to allow you to capture and collaborate and find and reuse your content. And I'm sure many of you have seen and faced these issues, and I'm sure that's why a lot of you are actually on today's call. So first of all, using the shared drive makes it difficult to find things. There's no native searching capability. It's very difficult to go and locate information that's on the shared drive. First of all, you need to know it's on the shared drive in the first place. It can be very difficult to actually just navigate through due to the unstructured nature and the fact that shared drives tend to just grow over time really organically without any true control. It's very difficult to capture the context around the content. Typically, the way people try and do this is either by a combination of file naming or folder naming conventions. So, for example, you'll often see very long and complex file names or folder structures. And really what they're trying to do is capture the context around the document. What is it about? Who wrote it? What's it applicable to? Which version is it? When was it created? When was it modified? All of those kinds of things are very difficult to track on a shared drive, and that's why you typically see these kind of long, complex file names where people are trying to impose some sort of information or properties on top of the underlying file. And really it's because a shared drive is not designed and does not provide the capability to allow you to capture that contextual information that's required to actually manage that information in an effective way. One of the key issues, which I'm sure we've all had problems with in the past, is the lack of version control. Again, the way that's often tried to be addressed is through file naming conventions or literally just having a folder called version 1 or version 2 or version 3, etc. But really you don't have a lot of integrity there in terms of what the file names and what the version information should actually be. Also, although there is security on shared drives typically, what you don't get is actual security that applies to the operations and permissions that should apply to documents. So file system permissions are not the same as permissions one should have against documents. So, for example, we need to have permissions that control when people can make comments against documents, when they can actually make edits, when they can create new documents, when they just have read-only access. Although in some ways you can implement those with a file system, it's really not what they're designed to do. And that's really one of the roles of what a content repository, content management system provides, is the security profiles that are applicable to actually managing documents and other types of content within an organization. And it also doesn't provide any kinds of tools that allow you to collaborate. So there's no concept of actually locking documents to ensure the integrity of updates and changes. It provides no native capabilities for supporting things like review and approval processes, for allowing comments and discussions. And it's also extremely difficult to reuse. If you've got a document that lives on a shared drive, how do you publish that? How do you publish it out onto your intranet, onto your website, and actually make it part of the other systems that are in use in the organization? And these are some of the challenges that shared drive actually has when it's used as the world's most popular CMS. Okay, I'm just pausing for a second here because I'm not sure the slides are actually updating your end. If you just bear with us a second, we'll just check that for you. So if you can just hold on one moment. Balaji, can you just confirm in the chat window for us just to make sure that the slides are actually updating, or anybody else who's actually on the call, if they could send a message? Great, okay. Cool. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so without really what we see as some of the challenges that organizations are changing when using a shared drive for managing content, let's just move on and talk a little bit about the Alfresco application. Now, really, the purpose of today's session is not really to talk in a great detail about the core Alfresco product suite. There is a lot of resources out there that are available to you, including obviously the website and content on the website. There's also a number of recorded seminars or webinars similar to this one where you can actually go and play those back, which will give you a much greater in-depth coverage of the core capabilities and functionality that's provided by the Alfresco repository. What I really want to illustrate here is the fact that at the heart of the system is this content repository, and what Alfresco provides is a set of content management services within that repository. And those services are things like providing native version control capabilities, security and permissions. We have facilities for managing workflows, both as simple or ad hoc workflow processes, and also more advanced transactional type workflow with formal review and approval processes and tasks and actions. And those